All right.
In review, we've got supine decompression from week 1. Is everybody comfortable with that? Has anybody got
Yes.
questions on the supine work? Supine work is gravity is helping you when you're laying on your back. So if you're working with a client for the first time, you want them to be safe. If you're working with an elderly person, you want them to be safe. Start them out on their back. Concept is to try to decompress the spine and then open up the shoulders and learn to close the hips. So you're coordinating the hips and the shoulders, creating that long curvature through the lumbar, thoracic, and up into the cervical spine. Head and neck work, anything shoulder related, you have to decompress the spine before you go after the shoulders. If you've got somebody with shoulder pain and they've got a compression on one side of the spine, although it may not be as pronounced as I'm showing you, and you start working the shoulder, you're going to tear up those tissues that are tight to the body, especially in this area, and you're going to create bigger problems than you solve, especially with the head and the neck. Head control, head too far forward. This is not necessarily back chain dominant, but this is what I want you to see is that back chain dominant work. It's the long length of the spine, and then if the hips are behind the rib cage, which is going to put you in that forward position, which is where that supine work really gets you back into it because gravity pulls you back. When it comes to prone work, prone is working against gravity. Prone work, you can really integrate the shoulder work a lot easier into the prone work because you're laying on your tummy. What I don't want you to do is try to lift the chest off the ground. When you take those breaths, you should feel the space start to increase between your chest and the floor. And then when you breathe out, you maintain that. Because if you can do it facing the ground, gravity is pulling you to the floor and you're able to control that, you're going to get the tissues from the back of the head to the base of the spine that run the length of the spine to engage and maintain their control, which comes into the term control. Control is what I want you focused on. A lot of people get hung up in, man, I got to get flexible. I got to get range of motion. I've got to get long and stretched out versus I want you to be able to control these small ranges in these exercises. It's not about the big movements. It's about, can you stabilize and then do the little movements. So when it comes to the shoulder and the spine, the tiny tissues are what we're after. The big ones work great. You're going to have a lot of people that are tight here. What do you have to do? You don't work this. You work the opposite and adjacent side. So pull aparts with the hands. We're going to get into today with the banded shoulder work. We're going to tie it in. We're going to do some rope work. Standing decompression as a review. Thumbs, pinkies, that space creates a tall, well-rounded, up, down, and around, and back into the back of the body. That's what's going to solve a lot of lumbar pains. Kneeling reach is when you get the hips involved. My kneecaps hit the ground. That means my kneecap is a pivot point. Rather than doing standing work, I'm just going to replace my knees with those feet. Feet become the knees. Big toes going to touch together. This is our base, and then we're going to set those hips back and then work that same decompression work. So if you want to target the hips, kneeling work is going to be a lot more effective than the supine or the prone. If you want to target the spine, prone, supine work, that's your bread and butter. Pandiculation is a tightening or a controlled lengthening of the power in that body. If you can press those fingertips together and create an isometric and think about that same pressure, you're matching it throughout the body. So that's a cue that you're helping somebody understand. You'll see people in the supine, the prone, the standing, the kneeling work. You'll see their elbows flare. What does that create? It closes the shoulder. I want this shoulder to open. So we're always opening things, palms up, pinkies together, thumbs apart, all the way up. And you're going to get length through here, which is going to open up and pull up and away from this mid-thoracic area. If we can decompress the mid-thoracic area, then we open up this move, side to side, the lateral bend of the spine. You put your thumbs in your armpits, side to side. Now, if you drive your hips forward and compress your back and you do the same thing, you might feel why you don't do that, because you're going to compress these areas, you're going to bulge these discs, pump them out forward. So tall, length, hips back, side bends, lateral bends, elbows back to the body. The other one's going to be a reach, and then you're going to alternate. Those alternating reaches can be done in standing, they can be done in kneeling, and they're most definitely practiced when you're in prone. That prone decompression the best possible thing you can do is coordinate this spine, and the head has to swivel where the eyes stay level. If you lose your head control, whether it's dumping it forward or dumping it to the side, you're going to compress the lateral side or the front side and spit the disc out either back or to the side. So neck pain, compression pains, these shooting pains that go down the arm, into the elbow, into the hand, right here. That's your bread and butter. What do you got to do? Prone work. Tuck the chin, lengthen the cervical spine, and then add a lateral bend. Lateral bend becomes kind of a figure eight. Think about hands out to the side, palms up, back, down, under, forward, back, down, under, forward on the opposite side. I'm controlling the lat and the base of that shoulder throughout that entire motion. From the front view, it's right here. Boom, boom. So this position here is going to show up where the head is in the left column. So if I were to be in a split stance decompression, 1 foot forward, back foot back, my back heel is away, both my shin and my thigh are closed. So this hip closes, this hip opens. From the side view, you'll see that the pelvis will turn, and that creates the last part of this piece of the spine that we're going to review, which is the lumbar, the pelvis, where it meets at the bottom. They have to synchronize. They turn towards whatever the front foot is. The head will land in the column, the chest will land in the column, and then you can work any of these shoulder routines. So if you've got somebody that's stuck like this in their assessment, you're going to want to get them where you're able to get them out of that side and into the other side. So you're going to turn the pelvis, thumbs in the armpits, tilt, turn, and then work that side. Now, if I'm tight and compressed and I'm grinding the spine, what should I be doing? Always expansion breath. I'm not counting the reps. I'm not counting 1, 2, 3. I'm keeping a constant controlled motion and counting my breaths. 1. So that's that 3 breath sweet spot that I've been teaching you in every position. Except now with the spine, you're adding all 3 phases: lumbar, thoracic, and cervical. They all turn, pivot, and coil or pack into one side. So when my foot comes up and my knee comes forward, my head and chest should be headed that direction. And when they land, in order for this leg to load and lead, I've got to take the head, the chest, and the spine that direction. Most people that I see are compressed in one way or another. You're going to see a hand, either the back of the hands, or one hand's going to be lower than the other, or you're going to have a gap between the elbow and the thoracic area. So I'm looking for those imbalances. As if I see a gap over here, then I know that I'm likely turning away from that gap side. It's not 100% every time, but that's just something that I'm looking for in that assessment, which when I drew all those draw ups on the girl that we uploaded, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for imbalances in the upper body, and then I'm programming these routines and focusing on those specific behaviors that I see, whether it's a compression or a strong side or a pull. This side, if I can see the back of the hand, I can see the shoulder tucked this way, then I know I need to give what? Do I need to give these, or do I need to give these? I want to give the opposite side, and then I want to make small micro movements without pain. From there, I'm going to turn away from it, and that packs this side further back. If you look at a baseball player, they're going to throw from their back hip, and then when they move the head and the chest forward into the other side, that's what's going to finish that throw into the other side. Why? Because the head and the chest land in the other column. So when it comes to the pelvis, pelvis is part of the spine, part of the lumbar and the sacral spine, thoracic, cervical spine. Coiling, half kneeling, turn to look. If I'm in a half kneel, I want to be able to turn and look at the back leg. I want to make sure my clients can do that before we move on to anything down low. Because if I have a compression up in the spine, then I need to be working that out of the system. I work that out of the system by giving them, whether it's on their tummy, going to be easiest, working up into the rockers, which we're going to get into next week. Split stance decompression, standing decompression, half kneeling, turn to look. Windmill. Windmill's right here. Joint protection is slow, controlled paces. You're not working too fast. You're not loading this with any weight until you can see that that person has control, which means they need a mirror. They need to see you do it. You've got to perfect this so you can demonstrate it to people before you start to hand it to them and program it. Light bands, super light, right? I love a light band. Light band can be doubled up, tripled up, quadrupled up, and it becomes a bigger band. Light band is a great training tool because I can train the shoulders, palms up, thumbs out, pack those, and then I can work the spine. And I know my upper spine, where at the base of the neck, the shoulders is stabilized from the side view. Once again, head, chest turns, and then there's a tilt. I can add to that tilt. Let's say I see somebody that can't quite get over there. They can't get their head over their foot. They struggle. There's a lot of reaction responses. I'm going to give them a band so I can go all the way up into that shoulder decompression series. But I'm going to step slightly forward. I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to take that low hand on that side down and look up at that top hand. I can take that band back, elbows tight to the body. Now I'm going to put that spine in that coiled state. I can do that in kneeling. I can do it in a full kneel. However I need to do that to program that, I want accuracy in the spine. And then learning to do it loaded in a standing position, and then get from there to the other side. So bands and ropes, lots of ways to pack. You're just loading the upper body, keeping the palms forward, the thumbs apart, everything back, coiled spine, coiled spine. So that is what I want you all to be able to perfect, because if you can figure that out, then you're going to have a chance to control the upper body and not beat up the knee. If I've got a foot that's crooked and a head that doesn't get over to that column, when I land, I'm going to blow out the backside because I never get the pressure over there. So I can beat this back knee up because where's my heel? Pointing in. Where's my head? On the wrong side. Where does my head and chest need to be? Over in that front side. Now, if my foot's not straight and my head and my chest is over there, what do I need to do? You could turn further into it and get where you're on that straight foot. Or you can replace that foot and get it straight. Because if I can get that foot straight, then you see how my pelvis is on the inside of that leg? My knee is on the inside of that leg. That's going to be a problem for that behavior right there. So I need the pelvis to turn, and then I need this hip to sink back, and you're going to see that the head and the chest lands over top of this foot more naturally, and you're going to feel it in the rump. You need to be able to program that hamstring. You've got to. That's where we're working. Until you get in, the meniscus is an area that gets beat up with bad behavior in the knee. If you got toes out and you're lifting heavy, you're tearing your meniscus. If you're running in your heels, you're going to tear your meniscus. Your ACL tears at the same pattern the meniscus tears. In jiu-jitsu, what are you not allowed to do? Reap the knee, right? At least from what I understand, it's an illegal move. The knee reap is a toe out, heel in, knee to the inside behavior. Straighten that foot, become more resilient in the outside of the foot, heel up off the ground, butt back, turn the pelvis, and control the spine above it so you can control the pressure and the weight above that knee. Because as soon as I lose pressure on the top, the lower half of the body is going to take those compressions.
How long I need to have that? I mean, the exercise, we do it for like 30 seconds, 1 minute, and how much time I have to be in that position with my C in my back and letting the pressure out of the knee.
All day long. It should be a habit. Everybody in the modern day environment beats up their knee because their knee goes forward, their heel's down, and their pelvis is out of whack. Goes forward. So that's
I try to put my weight to the outside. I try to put my weight to the outside, and I practice with John Paul. The leg. I mean, walking with not with my heels, and putting the weight in the outside of my leg.
Where are you feeling it in the hip? Because the hip controls the pressure. The hip keeps pressure up and away from knee. The foot is the landing. It's the spring system, the suspension system. If the suspension system drops to the inside, that's opening up the knee to collapse to the inside. and the pelvis is going to turn either towards that side with a collapse or away from it, which is what you really want. If it's going to collapse, you want the head and the chest to get out of that side. So for you, if you want to protect the knee, this is my affected side. This is my left knee. I have a left knee problem. I want to get off of it. I want to practice getting the hell out of that column and over into the other side. So if you're over here working the left knee over and over and over and over again, you're just adding to the problem. You're not going to strengthen that injury out. You have to let it rest, let it relieve the pressure. You got to get pressure out of that side, because likely what happens is most people, like the girl from the film, she's a wreck on the other side. The side that's operated on is broken. It's hurt because the other side doesn't do its job. So one side does all the work, the other side retires, and the side that's doing all the work, the strong side, is what gets blown up. So the side that hurts for you, Henry, is the side you need to learn to get away from. So the head and the chest and the spine don't need to load on top of the right side. They need to get out of the right side if it's the right side. So that right side should be the back foot for your split stance decompression. And then you can do a little calf raise in the front side, little squats, lots of ways to do this. Turn away, turn away, turn away, working pressure away from the side that's painful or injured. Because if you look at the leg when I move away from it, shin, thigh turned in, heel away, that's released. The pressure has left that side of the body, and it is now on the front side of the body, and it has to be able to get back over the other side, and that movement has to continue. If you're adding these static decompressions we're working on, and you're just doing one step, that's going to build resiliency and a postural pattern, but you're not ever going to get it to relate to movement until we start to tie it into locomotive behavior. Locomotive behavior is a crawl, a walk, or a run. You can also look at it as a throw and a strike, although that's going to be a lot more dynamic. If I'm able to punch and understand that the spine loads and releases to the other side, there's a snap of energy, that backside kind of come through, but it's not just going to stop, it's going to come all the way through, and I'm going to learn to flow in and out of those patterns, which comes down to what we're getting into, which is pelvis, hip, knee. You guys need to be studying this anatomy, looking at the shapes of the body, looking at the design of these tissues. If you're trying to chase like, man, I should be over here or over here, over here, you need to understand and see it. I cannot see these things for you. I can show them to you, I can explain them, but you have to be putting them in time, looking at the anatomy, going, man, I see that outside of the foot. I see that lateral calf. I see that outside of the hip. And then you recognize, man, it's the same shit in the shoulder, outside of the shoulder, outside of the calf, and the strong side of the hand, which is why we're going shoulder, spine down. With a knee problem, we're going to get into that, Henry. We're not there yet. And I need all of you to know that when I first started with you all, I thought I was clear that if you're working with people, you need to let them know that they're a guinea pig. You need to understand that you're not able to assess and you're not able to really do rehab work yet. That is a huge skill set that I'm teaching you. I've spent 10 years doing it. Corey spent possibly more than I have. I'm not sure when he got his therapy license. We're kind of on the same page when it comes to like time in the rehab setting. The rehab setting is a messy place because everybody's in a hurry to get back to something that they were doing prior. And Henry, what you heard from your doctor is you're never going to bend your knee the same way. And he's not wrong. Once you've had a surgery, that knee will never be the same. You've got scar tissue that's going to be in there, and you're going to have to adapt movement and behavior based on that. Something like jujitsu is something that you're going to have to be careful with. You're going to need to partner with partners that know you have a knee injury and know to leave you alone on that knee. Shake hands. Find somebody that's a higher belt and say, bro, you got to leave that knee away because I am coming back from an injury. I have had surgeries. Don't go in there expecting to compete at a high level because you will get hurt in a sport that requires your opponent to literally break you down. Does that make sense? I don't want to be mean.
Makes a lot of sense.
Totally. I just want to like we're coming. And I don't want to overwhelm you. I hate that we already introduced the assessment because it is the most complex thing we're going to cover. And once we go the hip, once we get the knee, it synchronizes with the chest. Is everybody, I say it, I want you to see it. I'm going to show you film today of what that looks like so you can start to download that info. Left kneeling turn to look. thoracic shoulders, reach across and unders. The newest exercise that three things we're adding today that are new. One is the reach unders. So you're going to reach under. And in the video, I have an air. I want you to notice that the shoulders in my hands, my elbow in one of the videos, I collapse down into it. I want you to reach under and keep it tall as you can get. Oh yeah. This side, tall as you can get. And you'll notice you start to collapse. So push up, and that's going to push that spine up through this arm. Push up, reach under. That's going to open up the back of the spine. All of you should probably feel a pop when you do that, I would guess, because 95% of the people are stuck in that area. The other way I did it was to bring the elbow down and reach under, which you're going to get more range. So once you get to that range, pushing the back of the hand, back of the forearm into the floor, this elbow, this hand, I'm going to push up. And you're looking up. It's the same behavior as this. You're just doing it in more of a controlled environment down here. Rocking forward and back is an exercise that's going to become your daily bread and butter. Great for your knees if you can tolerate it. But the rocking forward and back lacks the head swivel from side to side. So the reach under with a push and a breath, looking up, allows the spine to fully unwrap in one direction. Kneeling version, elbow down, opening up that spine. If you're doing it right, you're going to feel it in the hip. You're going to see where the further the rib cage goes forward, the more this hip goes back. Give you a side view. The further the rib cage goes forward, the more the hip goes back, and you're going to stretch this tissue right here. This tissue connects down. If you trace it, feel it with your hand all the way to the back of the knee. There's a tight tendon right there. That's where it connects to the back of the knee. That's what you're lengthening. You're decompressing the back of the knee. From there, integrate a calf raise. That calf raise is a micro move. It's really at the ankle. You're not going to see a lot of movement in the upper hip, but you want to control it. If it helps tighten the butt cheek, tighten this butt cheek towards the other one. Turn the pelvis. The pelvis turns. Pelvis turns. So it looks like in standing. Further you get the rib cage forward, the more you may have a loss of balance. Have support if you need it. Once you can feel that, hey, I got to get that in there, that tissue, this is where we're going to add a rope. Rope work. Both hands out to the side, thumbs out, palms up. Take it to the right side, and I'm going to swing it overhead into the left side. And then I'm going to swing it overhead into the right side. And I want you to think with the pelvis, hip back, whatever direction the rope is going, that pelvis is turning. What you'll notice is if you're in your heel, let's say you turn the pelvis towards one side, if you're in your heel, you're going to add pressure, tissue, pain into that knee. So you got to keep those heels off the ground. You want to be bouncy, and you want to turn that pelvis side to side. Side view, you're going to turn that pelvis side to side. It stays back, but it turns. So you can think with the tailbone. And then you learn to do it one-handed. So put your hand somewhere, can be anywhere, on the other side, you're going to work it. So if I've got a rope in my hands and I'm teaching somebody to swing it, I'm getting that spine to start to coordinate. These are overhands. Okay? The other one is the underhand. So out to the side, step forward, head into the chest, and just do underhands. Back, under, forward, back, under, forward, back, under, forward. I'm going to keep that elbow and that bicep close to the body. Back, under, forward, back, under, forward. Henry, this is a great one for you to do and keep that heel off the ground because you're adding, every time that rope comes down, 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 you're adding a load into that column. So the spine loads the leg, the spine loads the leg, the spine loads the leg. If you keep the foot straight and you keep the pelvis back, that knee's going to be safe, even if it dips to the inside. long as that pelvis stays back, we're in the safe zone. If I drive this pelvis this way and I go into this zone, that's where I get in trouble. So pelvis back, and then the further back the hip goes, the more this knee, this shin, this thigh is going to open. So my chest and both shins, both thighs, both kneecaps are going to point together. That's the side that's packed. I'm going to do underhand. Underhand, 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 underhand. I do that for 2 minutes. I'm going to be a sweaty mess, and my entire column from my foot up into the spine is getting the load. Now, if my head is in the middle of the body and I'm doing this, every time I do this, I'm wreaking havoc. Look at the pressure in the lumbar spine that's disorganized. Hip loads and it unloads, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go to the other side. It's just bad. So turn that chest, get it out of the middle, get the head over the column, and load it.
Are both of your heels off the ground?
All day, every day. Heels up, always eyes up, on the horizon, big cat on the hunt. Your big cat looking for prey. You gotta keep those eyes up, you gotta keep those heels up, and you gotta keep the hips behind the rib cage. When I do an assessment, if I see toes out, that tells me that the hips are forward, because that's what that move is. If I come here, bang, guess where I'm? Am I in my columns? No. What's taking the brunt of this force? That knee right there. Why? Because you guys get in your heels. Gabby, don't do this. Get in your heels and try to jump. Henry, probably you don't do that either. I'll just tell you, you got bounce up here. There's no bounce back here. If you drive your car over a pothole, you don't have good suspension, bang, you're gonna knock out pieces. If you get out of those heels and you drive over that hole, bang, you've got shocks. So this is where bounce, right? Traditional jump rope. Should I do this? Yes. Okay, traditional jump rope. I'm not doing that again. I'm afraid I'm gonna bust the light out. Traditional jump rope is a hop, okay? What would be bad about a traditional jump rope based off of everything that I just talked about?
The pressure in the flat foot one is gonna have pressure on the knees and then the hips, because people normally jump with the whole feet with the heels on the ground. That's one.
No. Head. Think head control. Where's my head when I'm in traditional jump rope? In the middle. And where should the head be?
Oh,
it should move out of the body. It should get out of the middle of the body, okay? That head is never in the center of the body in anything except for exercise. That's the only thing in the world that you ever see the head really in the middle of the body. Exercise and sitting on your butt. That head is always moving from foot to foot, column to column. So the swinging rope, you can still jump, okay? You just get the head out of the center and you get the spine, okay? And then you split stance it. And can I land whatever front foot? And I speed it up. And can I slow it down? Can I slow it down to a walk? Okay, you're going to get those same behaviors.
What if it's like a normal jump rope? Jump, like both hands.
Then it's exercise.
Oh, right.
So like, you're training as a boxer, you're going to do it, right? Like jump rope's one of the best things. You're bouncy. As long as you're out of the heels, it's a dance. Boom, 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 boom. There's a ton of things you can do with the rope that I want y'all to be able to integrate that's lower impact. If I've got somebody that doesn't pass the assessment, I don't want them jumping up and down. I don't want them sprinting. I don't want them doing explosive weighted exercises. I want them perfecting the micro movements, regaining control and the coordination of the body. Now, that can get over analytical, and you create like stiff people that are just trying to like mimic these behaviors, which is where I really love the rope, because if you can master the side to side overhand and you can master the underhand, and then you can make it a walk, That's what's really going to integrate this work in a way that the brain and the body, it's more playful. Anytime I make it playful, it's more likely to develop a habit much sooner, okay? If you got trouble in one side, let's say you notice in your filming yourself and you're doing rope work, and you notice that you just constantly keep that right foot open. And you notice you can see the inside of that heel. Man, I don't want that. So what do we need to do? Maybe I need to come here. Maybe I need to get back in my half kneel. Maybe I need to see if I can turn the chest over into that side and look back at that back heel and take a big breath. And you'll find where you're sticky. It might be in the quad on this side. It doesn't release. You may find that the body never wants to get out of that left side, so you're trying to jump and the head's always over here. Over time, that's going to beat this knee up because it has to be able to release to the other side. So rather than going, oh man, I've got trouble on the right side, let's go stick the right foot down straight and try to work the right side a whole bunch, I'm actually going to see if I can release the right side and then get from the left to the right and look for accuracy with the foot, which is still a hand, just the leg hand. If I can paw the ground, think about you ever seen a cat paw the ground or a dog? You learn to paw the ground, light and feathery, light and feathery, kicking the heel away, kicking the heel away, kicking the heel away. So that little exercise, great alone. How can I make it more fun, more playful? I'm going to sync it up with the rope. That's where this becomes really, I hope it's fun. That's the point. I used to have this is one of the best things I ever did for my body. My spine, I did a lot of the training that I've been showing you. Head in the center, decompress the spine. It's preliminary, static. There's no movement involved. It gets people unstacked and out of those compressed patterns. But if I go to walk like this, I look like I just left church and the preacher said something that I didn't want to hear. Whoo, buddy. I don't want that. I don't want that rigidity in my body. I want things to flow, open up. If you look at Conor McGregor, man, that dude walks in a way that the whole body just coordinates and moves. So you're trying to get that to open up. Dance is a perfectly good analogy for looking at how that body looks when it's in a flow state. And that's what the rope work really is. So you got two exercises with the rope I'm introducing today. Underhand and overhand. Okay, overhand work is great to kind of learn the rhythm. Underhand work is what most people need. Boom, boom. So one-handed at first. And when the rope comes down, there's a pressure that pops it back up. So the move, I'm going to go side. The move here is under, over, under, over, under, over. My elbow is back and down and through, back and down and through. Henry, right side. I want the right side back, back down and through, back down and through. I want to see if I can get pressure out of it, get the pelvis to turn away from it, where the heel moves away from the body so I can release this pressure back here, because meniscus is the front. ACL, anterior, means to the front. Posterior means to the back. If the ACL gets torn, the anterior ligaments, then I don't want to be forward. I want to be up and release it. Leaning into something and working ankle gyroscopes, just like we did in the supine work. Tracers. My right side is what I'm after. My right side's my knee that I want to get better at. I'm going to turn further into that left side. I'm just going to pick that foot up and down. I'm going to make sure that I can reset that landing phase.
Hi, JP's in the waiting room. He says, no?
I see him now. He's in here. Cool. We got almost the whole gang. underhands. Okay, overhands. Why? Good spine hygiene. Good spine hygiene. And then both sides with both hands. Okay. Now the last one takes some time. You're going to start it with the left, drag it in front of the body, swing it up and over, drag it behind the body, swing it up and over, drag it in front of the body, swing it up and back, drag it behind the body, and then it becomes a flow state, okay? That's really how the spine can really get its movement back. You're working with old folks, they need balance, rope class, coordinated activities. Starts out with, we're gonna decompress. We're gonna lay on our back, supine decompression. Everybody's gonna start on their back, out to the side, go through the flow, back down, 3 of those, get warmed up. 3 of those, hands up, 3 of these, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rolling over. Okay, you could even have them roll back and forth. It's one of the best things for them to do. Good trunk control, good core strength. But at the end of the day, get them back to prone. Maybe pick those feet up off the ground, work the feet, pop, 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 pop. You can freestyle this in a class, make it up, like make it fun for them, but it's all the same concepts. Reaches, push up with the knees down, butt back to the heels, rockers, crawl forward, crawl back. All of this is going to get the body and the head and the chest and the spine moving. Tuck the toes. This is where it'd be nice to have a chair in front of them, a chair back, something, a chair seat, so they can put their hands on it and help themselves get up. Because getting somebody that doesn't have good foot control, later in this, you're going to see me teach it from here to here, okay, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, and then it's going to go for a walk. So you're re-ingraining those developmental patterns that start from the ground, supine, prone, laying on your back to laying on your back, supine, laying on your tummy and prone, floating the hands, learning to reach. All of this is going to get the hip and the spine and the head reintegrated. So when you get them in a split stance behavior and you reintegrate the rope work, standing work, we're going to do 30-second Tabatas, 30 seconds of rope. Swing it, just keep it moving, right? Like all they got to do, keep it moving. Underhands, 1, 2, you got to keep it moving. Okay, walking, drag, roll it behind you, drag, roll it behind you, drag, roll it behind you. Make it playful. And then can you go the other way? Learning to use that rope gets everything that we've worked on so far tied in to this. From there, use your rope like a band. Pull it apart, reach it up over the sky. Up, little squat. Up, little squat. You don't need to go all the way down to the bottom with folks. All the way down to the bottom, this is rest, okay? So when you've got somebody that's chasing depth with their squat and they've got this all pressurized, oh, I gotta get up. This is how I need to eat and shit. I don't need to be pushing weight from that level because I'm never gonna load weight at that level. I'm gonna load weight by running, which means it's gonna happen at this level. Never any deeper than that. My knee should always be long. My heel should be up off the ground. My butt should be back. I should feel bouncy. That's what you got to give people back, that bounce. You got to get them playful again. Can I bounce around? Can I hop? Can I skip? Can I run? Can I kick? Wow. Wow. Those are things that are instinctive to the body and require a lot less effort than I think people think. People think that it's like, I create a lot of power when I kick. Ah. man, the speed of that kick is where there's their energy. If I can go, hey, shapa, I'm going to create a lot more power. Bruce Lee, 1-inch punch, pow. All of that's just a quick reaction. It's not a load up and a release. It's never everybody's Mike Tyson. However, with that being said, Mike Tyson punches from the spine. Everything we do from the upper body, from the hips up, to tie everything in we've done so far. If I'm trying to punch with just my arm, I'm not going to get enough power. But if I try to work under and come from here, wow, what happens? Head is in where? My loaded column. Where's my pressure? Loaded column. Where's my foot? My heel's off the ground. Where's my elbow? Tight to the body. And then I'm going to come from here. I'm going to get so much more power when I release this coiled structure, which is this, just back here. Wow, I'm going to turn the chest that way and come through. Same thing with a what? Racket sport. Where's the pressure in my foot? Not all the way to the outside, not all the way to the inside. Where's my second toe? Straight. And I want the knee, the shin, the thigh, point the direction that I want to create power. And then in the front side, where's my pressure?
On your
Hip.
rack.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is why I started, once again, this is why I started with y'all from top down. Because if we start with the feet, we get over analytical with the feet. The foot is very complex. The ankle is a small joint. The hip is the powerhouse of the body. All my weight is right here. And it crosses to this side. You got the psoas that comes down. You got the back side, crosses through here, into here. Glute, lat, connect. What do? This loads, pow, it releases, pow. All that uncoils. That's where you get power. That's where you get movement that's under control and in sync and doesn't repetitively stress the body. If there's an error in the system, we have to understand how to apply these little behaviors, these little exercises for corrective exercise from a rehabilitative standpoint. So Henry, your knee issues, you should not be doing a lot of standing squat. You need to go, okay, my left side, I want to work it today. I'm going to put pressure down. I'm going to remove some of my body weight, and then I'm going to get into that position and see if I can pump out 25 calf raises. And I'll bet that foot and ankle of yours is wrecked. So you're going to go, okay, I'll even put a hand down. Calf raise, calf raise, calf raise, calf raise, calf raise, and then slowly lower it. Up, slowly lower it. Up, tighten the butt cheeks, slowly lower it. And now you're going to feel, hopefully, that connection from the hip, outside of the hip, down to the calf. And that's what really creates the power in the foot. If you don't have that power in the foot, or if you don't have that decompressed frame, then you can't work into strength and explosivity and resistance band work until you've got control, until you can see that somebody can go straight feet, hands out to the side, reach up, boom, hands to the ground in a squat. Okay, this is not something you have to do this week, but squat to hinge flow, Henry, is what's going to protect that knee. You've got to reintegrate the hip and the ankle. And if I'm in this position and I don't have a spine that's decompressed, well, then I'm going to create problems in my lumbar spine. And that is why I've had trouble in the past with people that get really infatuated with the foot, really infatuated with the knee, the shin, the thigh, and they're trying to create this bow pattern, this shape, but they're overzealous with it. Their spine then, what do I see? See like a head or a chest always pointing one direction. And you know what knee's going to get beat up? That one. Because it's not ready for all the weight. If I'm here, now I can shift weight back and shift weight forward and into it. Shift weight back and shift weight forward and into it. And I can slowly give it pressure, hold it there, and work pressure away. And work that spine above a locked in leg to create that length and start to decompress the sacrum. How much time do I have? Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. Welcome to the pelvis. That right there is what we've been working when it comes to the decompression work. Why? Because it protects that lower side. Kneecap, inside of the kneecap, the patella surface in there, connective tissue that's in there, all of that. This is just rope. Okay, this doesn't really give you any power. MCL, PFL, all these hide. Synovial membrane. That right there is the juice. Quite literally like the fluid. Hide. These little bitty ligaments. Fade others. Tiny little ligaments. All of that, you can't control that. But you can control what's above it. And if you're going to control this, then you need to know what you need to be doing with all of this. Because this, what's on the other side of this, all your organs, okay? Whoop. All your weight right there, all right? All the muscle surrounds that. That's all your weight. That's all your pressure.
I don't know if it's only me, but I see that your video was paused.
Oh, you don't see my
No, you
screen?
have to go to, tenés que ir a apretar ahí al ladito en el cuadrito donde dice Cody. Así como salimos todos.
Got it.
So this knee hinge joint, right? There's a little bit of rotation there. You can see there's a little surface, a little curvature on both sides. That thing can grind away until you don't have that space anymore. If I need to create space in that joint, I need this joint, 8 others. I need that surface right there to synchronize really, really well with the pelvis, with the spine. So this is, I like that you guys are thinking about making a C in your back, but this is where you can get in trouble with that thought process. If I'm trying to really stiffen and move this part of the spine, then I'm actually going to lock up this joint on accident because I'm going to be using that with the breath work. And I'm going to be using that with the when you're trying to put your body in a C. I like it as long as you don't overdo it because it's a really, really slight C. It's not a big C, it's a little bitty C. That tailbone, that's your tail. I want y'all to be thinking with your tail, which requires what to move? Pelvis. These two pieces have to be able to move freely with that. And you've got these. This is where the anatomy and looking deep into this hip, going, man, there's a lot going on there. But what does this all do? If this shortens, where does it pull? Pulls this. Where does it pull it towards? Pulls it towards that. So that's going to sit you down into your hip, which becomes the IT band, which attaches to the front of the knee. Okay? Tibia. Your meniscus is up inside of that, I believe. I'll pull that open. Meniscus is common injury in jiu-jitsu, Henry. It's easily rubbed. Corey's seen a bunch. Do you know what kind of tear you had?
Well, I mean, the doctor told me that only 10% was removed,
Torn?
but yeah, but I
So
feel
this is where,
a lot
this is
more.
where it can tear in different ways. So you've got the tear on the left, and then you've got the bucket handle tear. The bucket handle tear requires surgery, in my experience, because they need that to cinch back up. But once again, the body's resilient. The body can repair itself. You just have to take care of it. This traumatic force, over here, this diagram on the far left, the top bone rotates out and the bottom bone rotates in. So if that foot collapses and the thigh opens, that's where you can start to shred and tear up this meniscus. So getting pressure up and out of the knee, which is why I do it kneeling, so I can get pressure up and back, and then keeping that heel off the ground means that this tissue has to engage, and that all attaches at the back of the knee, while this attaches to the outside of the hip. So you're pulling up and back and down and away when that heel comes off the ground and that hip goes back, as long as the pelvis or the sacrum synchronizes with that. Sacrum's the base of the spine, pelvis is start of the hip socket. The leg is the pelvis, the spine is the sacrum. But they're very closely related, just a little bitty joint. Is this making sense?
More sense.
These little tiny tissues, little bitty hip movements. This is why I give you the supine. You know what? I haven't given you guys the supine tracers. That's next week. Are you ready for more exercises? Or I don't want to lose you. I'm so worried I'm going to leave you guys in the past, and then I'm going to have to catch you up. And that's okay if I do, because that's learning, right? There's no straight line in nature. There's no straight way to teach this. I love the questions. I love the applications. I love that we're getting into the knee already, because all of this, does it make sense to all of you? Are you confident that you understand that the shoulder is not just a shoulder joint, but it's a clavicle and a scapula that floats outside of that rib cage, and there's one muscle underneath, it's the subscap, that pulls and stabilizes, and then this area is the common torn area, because it's such a small muscle and it can get pinched on by this bone, because if we don't have the spine open and we don't have the shoulders and the head in a position that's safe, that just gets rubbed on over and over and over again. If you rub on it over and over and over and over again with those bones, it will start to tear. The infraspinatus, I find a lot of people's pains are in the big muscle. Cross friction massage. So if you were to run your finger up, down on that muscle, that's cross friction, because those lines go from inside to outside, those straight lines. Cross friction massage, if you're going to give somebody a massage, everybody loves a massage in this area. Don't be afraid to put your hands on somebody and say, man, does that feel good? Cool. Now I want to see if you can pack this muscle, right? Which is when the chest opens and the underhand gyroscopes that we do with the shoulder work pulls on this scapula, pulls it towards the spine, and relieves this one from being constantly stretched out when this shoulder falls forward to the front of the body. You can see where all these tissues get stretched out and they lose their elasticity. Deep in the spine, lots of small muscles. Lumbar connects to the thoracic. Thoracic connects to the cervical. Little bitty tissues, little bitty ropes, little bitty bungees. This is where if you get caught up in the muscles, you're like, shoot, there's a lot of them. Yeah, but there's one shape. And if you can understand that and see that, look what the jaw can do, right? That jaw has an effect. Has an effect on spine. Let me find it. Dig in there. Look at those. What up? You think you can flex those muscles? No, they're always working. They're always there. But you can darn sure stretch them out. If your head is dumped, if your eyes aren't level, you're stuck over in one side, this gets super tight. And then these start to shift. You get problems. How do we fix those problems? We look elsewhere. We look at what else can do their job. And that's what I want you to understand so far with the upper body, because that's what it comes down to. Shoulders, simplified. Elbow packs, underhand gyroscopes, overhand reaches. That's going to work this entire quadrant. Spine decompression, inflate the rib cage, all directions, works the entire quadrant. Smile, frown, chew, Put your tongue on top. Chin out, chin back, chin out, chin back. All that's going to work. Look up, look down, look left, look right. Ooh, I'll do neck gyroscopes today before I leave. And then hip and pelvis. Hip and pelvis, just like the shoulder, just a rotary joint. However, we got way more musculature, and that's a good thing. This is the powerhouse of the body. This pelvis runs the show. If you take those hips back, where's the upper body going to go? If I take the hips back, then the upper body is going to go forward. Big reach. That's what's going to decompress. That's where, if you can get that down, then now you can protect and engage the bottom half. So, what was your homework last week? Ooh, you guys got
The
videos
movements.
to watch.
Yeah, to practice the movements from the video.
No, your homework last week is build a client profile. So I'm going to reshare. Copy link. Boom. Boom. That last link. Because from here on out, we're going to be doing film study. And you're all going to have to start to organize it so you have it in the future, because it'll become part of your final exams. I'm not just going to pass you for attendance. I'm not just going to pass you for participation. You have to demonstrate competence in this approach. And I'm not putting a deadline on that, okay? You're not going to go, oh, shoot, I didn't get it in time, and I'm not going to fail you. Not with your group. Now, if there's 60 people in a class, I might fail people, but you're 3, and I'm going to make sure all 3 of you get through this and understand it in depth. Because you have to, because I need to know that you can help people over there. It just takes some time. It takes a lot of time. Corey's asking if I can hear him. I cannot, Corey. I don't know. Can anybody talk?
Hi?
Yep. All right. Gabby's there. I'll bet Corey came in and out, so he lost his speaking privileges. Did Henry? You're still in here.
Yes.
How's your competence level? Spine, shoulders.
My what?
Your spine and shoulder comprehension. You understand it?
Yeah. Yes, I the most parts of both.
I want you guys to go through, and if you'll do me a favor, on each video, when you see it in the Telegram, leave a comment. Saw this, saw this, saw this, saw this. Watch them. I filmed them so I don't have to repeat it a whole bunch.
Okay.
But the Spine Series Week 1, the Spine Series Week 2, and the Spine Series Week 3 are all in there. The Shoulder Series is all in there. And then all these other exercises you're going to see throughout this process. But watch this Week 3 Spine Series, follow along, film yourself doing it. It's a good spine flow. It's kind of the master spine flow when it comes to getting everything integrated. The rotation of the 3 parts of the spine, the cervical, thoracic, and the lumbar. The decompression, the lengthening, the static lengthening of all of these all these tissues. Half kneeling, turn to look, great safe position to be in. Thoracic, shoulders, that's your windmill work. That's when the thoracic area, side to side. Probably moved my camera, huh? So thoracic work, thoracic gyroscope, shoulder gyroscope, cervical gyroscope, neck gyros. Last thing, tuck the chin back, ear to shoulder, Okay, look right, look left. Make sure you pass both of those, and then you look up, and then you look down, and then you look down, and you take your chin to your shoulder, and then you look up. You take the back of the head to the shoulder, back of the head to the shoulder, and then you mix it all in. All the way around this way. 2, 3, switch. It's about range of control, not about the range of motion. 2, 3, boom. Ear to shoulder, out, in, tucking, packing everything up and back. Make sure that head's under control because it's really going to come in handy when it comes to working this hip. That's it. Sternum and rib cage. Muscles connect to the posterior side of the spine, backside and the front. Inhalation and reach. You have standing decompression. You have split stance. You've got column pivots and walking. Prone reach, kneeling reach, standing reach. Pandiculation, tightening, active lengthening, actively hold, and then relax. It induces the relaxation response. Do it in the hand. Do it in the bicep, do it in the shoulder, do it in the chest. And then it's going to induce that relaxation response. Pandiculation cannot be really assessed. I can't tell if you're doing it. It has to be an active, conscious behavior. So a great tool is, can you make a fist? Okay, can you make a big open hand? Can you pandiculate with an open hand? So like if I try to move my finger, it's stiff. I'm tightened, pandiculated. That's what a cat or a dog does first thing in the morning. Stretch. Oh, and then they're done, and it induces the relaxation response. Get the pressure, get the tissues long, elongated, get the pressure out of the upper body. Side bends with a dumbbell. We integrated that for the side bend. We did rope work today. We're going to get into more banded work. Getting the spine unlocked. Ooh, last one. What do I have? 6 minutes. Elbow packs. Open, look away. Elbow in the back pocket, look away. Elbow packs. Okay, this is great for neck pains. You get neck pain in clients, look away elbow packs. You're opening up that tissue area over here, opening it up. Head back. Common error is you lose control of the head, and now you're just torquing on it. Up tall, do it in kneeling. Front foot forward, turn and look at the back side, good. Okay, elbow pack with the other side, open. Open, it's opening up this quadrant, and then kneeling, kneeling, kneeling. Half kneeling is different than kneeling. Kneeling's both knees on the ground. Half kneeling is 1 foot, back knee. Rope work, I want you guys to work at it. Start with that video I showed you how to make the client profile, because your film's going to start going in there. I'm going to start saying, okay, you need a folder that shows you doing this. You need a folder that shows you doing this. You need a folder that shows you doing this. That's going to be part of your final. So we're going to start working on it at this point. So your shoulder and your spine series, you'll be filming while we're working through the hips, the pelvis, and the hands and the knees. And the feet. Hands, knees, feet, pelvis. 4 things. Y'all are awesome, by the way. I know I'm giving you a ton of work. So I don't expect you to get it all done, but please be diligent and try to stay ahead, because it only gets harder when I start integrating that assessment. Because that's really where you're able to build trust with people. When you go, hey, I see this, this, and this. Do you? And they're like, oh, yeah, how'd you see that? I'm like, well, I've been watching film for 3 years with this crazy person named Cody from America. And then at a certain point, you're going to go, dude, I get it. I see it. You're going to be able to walk into a gym and go, I can help that person, and that person. I know exactly what to do with all of them. I have to teach them how the body moves first. Education, and then application, which is the exercise. I don't even like calling it exercise, because it's really It's neuromuscular reprogramming. You're teaching the brain how the body moves again and trying to synchronize it where it's appropriate, and it moves in a long, pain-free, decompressed state. Gabby, with your old folks, that is what they need. They have lost their coordination. They're rigid. They're old. They've been beat up. They got grandkids that don't listen. Like, it's like, oh, I'm here. You got to get them open and then teach them how to balance and swivel from column to column. So head, chest. Using the boards, your big board. Do you have access to all the videos for the slant boards, Gabby and Henry?
The ones on you.
Yes, I have access.
To all three of those. There's a kneeling series, there's a standing series, there's a bilateral series, and a unilateral series, and then there's an access board series. There's 4 sets of videos with those. If not, I will add them, because that is going to be where we do a lot of the pelvis and the knee work, because we want those feet to be right. I will see you next week. Yes? You guys message me if you need calls.
See you next week.
If you need me between now and then, you just need to hit me a message in Telegram and say, hey, can I spend 15 minutes on the phone with you? You all have calls with me in the weeks that you can use. And you're going to use them. Like, when it comes to the assessment, that's when you're really going to cash in on those and be like, shoot, I need help. What do you see with this person? And I'm like, I see this, this, and this. What did you see? And then that's going to build your confidence up with the skill set. If you and I meet together and look at the film, that's where it's like, with Jan's ACL, she doesn't see it yet. So I'm showing her 100% what to do. At the same time, that girl has been told that she can run again, and I have a hard time telling her, Jan, that tell her, no, she can't run. But honestly, I wouldn't have cleared her to run, because she's got range of motion. She's got flexibility, guys. She's here. She can get all the way down. It's like rickety on the way down. One's caving, everything's in. So you're just actively tearing that knee again every time she squats. So I want everything to be tall, and I want to see if she can get into a split stance and get long, and then maintain that length and just do a micro squat. Little bitty bounces is all this takes. You're trying to load the system. You're not trying to achieve range of motion. Range of motion is flexibility. Flexibility is art. Art is not what we're trying to give people back. Not everybody needs to be a circus performer. Some people are circus performers, and they need different kind of work. They need a lot of pandiculation. If you have somebody that's very, very flexible, you have to teach them what it feels like to have control of their body at length. And then you have to see if they can maintain that control and get all the way down. And you're watching to see if something fails and wavers. And that's where the assessment comes in. I'll start uploading film starting next week, little assessments, little bitty movement flows. I hope this all starts to tie in, that it's one shape of the body, and no matter what position we're in, we're still hitting the key points. I gotta go.
Thank you. See you next
Great,
week.
Cody. Great class. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we'll be talking. Bye-bye.